Nothing will drain your happiness faster than comparing yourself to other people. You can be healthy, have enough money, enjoy the love of your family, and still lie awake at night feeling like a failure, simply because someone else has more. More recognition, more beauty, more achievements, more lights. That's the insanity of comparison. It blinds us to what we already have by constantly reminding us of what we don't. You could be living in the middle of your dream and still feel empty if your eyes are fixed on somebody else's life. Here's the truth most people never admit: comparison is endless. No matter where you are, there is always someone ahead. You buy the car you've always wanted, then see a friend driving the newer model. You celebrate a raise, then discover a colleague earns double. You finally feel fit, then open Instagram and see someone with better abs. It never stops, and because it never stops, you never win. The problem isn't that other people succeed. The problem is the story we tell ourselves about what their success means. When we see someone doing better, we secretly translate it into this: if they are winning, I must be losing. That toxic equation is what keeps us trapped. The cruelest part? Most of what we envy isn't even real. People rarely post their failures, doubts, or sleepless nights. They post the shiny moments, the vacations, the promotions, the celebrations. You're comparing your whole life, the messy, complicated, behind-the-scenes reality, with someone else's highlight reel. Of course you feel like you don't measure up. And here's the wake-up call. Even if you did catch up, it wouldn't satisfy you, because the trap isn't about reaching the top. It's about always moving the goalpost. You finally get what you thought would make you happy, but now someone else has something bigger, better, newer. Comparison doesn't end with success. It ends with exhaustion. Most of us grow up believing that success has a clear formula: work hard, climb the ladder, earn recognition, and you will be happy. Society reinforces it everywhere: schools, workplaces, advertisements, social media. They all tell us that achievement equals value, and the more visible the achievement, the better the life. But this is an illusion. External markers, money, titles, awards, cars, houses, are tempting because they're measurable and obvious. They let you compare yourself to others in a way that feels concrete. But here's the catch: these markers do not define your worth, and they cannot guarantee fulfillment. Many people who have it all are quietly miserable. Their lives may look perfect from the outside, but inside, they wrestle with stress, isolation, and dissatisfaction. The comparison trap thrives on this illusion. We see someone with a bigger house and automatically assume they are happier. We see someone with a prestigious job and assume they are more accomplished. We forget that life is not a leaderboard. Everyone's circumstances are different, and happiness does not scale with the size of your possessions or the status of your position. When you chase someone else's version of success, you ignore your own values, strengths, and priorities. You sacrifice time, energy, and mental peace trying to match a standard that was never yours. And even if you reach it, the feeling of satisfaction is temporary, because as soon as you arrive, someone else is ahead, and the cycle begins again. Understanding this is the first step toward freedom. You must recognize that your life cannot be measured by other people's achievements. You are not competing against them. You are designing your own path, defining your own success, and setting your own pace. Only then can you stop chasing shadows and start living deliberately. Grasping this truth is powerful. Success defined externally is a trap. Success defined internally, by your values, your goals, your meaning, is liberation. And that is the key to escaping the comparison trap. Escaping the comparison trap begins with awareness. You must first notice when you are comparing. This might happen while scrolling social media, listening to a coworker boast about a promotion, or hearing about a friend's achievement. Pay attention to the emotions that arise: jealousy, envy, frustration, self-doubt, These are the signals that comparison has taken hold. Awareness is not judgment, it's recognition. Once you see it, you can start to act. The next step is clarity. Define what success truly means for you, not what society, your peers, or social media dictate. Ask yourself, what do I value most? What kind of life do I want to build? What brings me genuine fulfillment? Write it down. Make it concrete. This becomes your internal compass, your personal measurement of achievement. When your goals and values are clear, external comparisons lose their power. You no longer measure your progress against others. You measure it against your own standards. Gratitude is another essential practice. Comparison focuses on scarcity. I don't have enough. Gratitude shifts the focus to abundance. I already have more than I realize. Neuroscience research confirms that gratitude rewires the brain to notice positives more readily and to reduce the emotional impact of envy. Start small. Write down 3 things you are grateful for every day. Over time, this simple habit rewires your perception, making the pull of comparison weaker. Reframe ambition. Ambition itself is not the enemy. Unexamined ambition is. Redirect your ambition inward. Instead of asking, how do I measure up to them? Ask, how do I improve myself? Use comparison as a tool for insight, not judgment. Ask, why am I feeling this envy? What does it reveal about my values and desires? This shifts comparison from a trap to a guide, revealing what matters to you rather than reinforcing feelings of inadequacy. Limit exposure to triggers. Social media and certain competitive environments amplify comparison. This doesn't mean avoiding the world. It means curating it. Follow accounts that inspire rather than provoke envy. Surround yourself with people who support and celebrate your growth rather than feed insecurity. Protect your mental space, because the less noise there is, the easier it is to focus on your own journey. Finally, focus on personal growth. The only comparison that matters is with yourself. Reflect regularly. Are you wiser than you were last year? Kinder than you were last month? More disciplined than yesterday? Progress measured internally creates a sense of achievement that is sustainable and authentic. Personal growth is infinite, flexible, and deeply rewarding, unlike external benchmarks that shift constantly. Comparison is seductive because it is easy, habitual, and culturally reinforced, but it is also corrosive, quietly eroding confidence, satisfaction, and even identity. By practicing awareness, defining your own standards, cultivating gratitude, managing exposure, and focusing on growth, you reclaim your life. You step out of the race that was never yours and into the one that truly belongs to you. Living beyond comparison begins with a simple realization. Your life is not a contest. No one else holds the scorecard, and there is no universal standard that measures your worth. When you internalize this truth, the constant pressure to keep up begins to dissolve. You stop chasing achievements that aren't yours and start focusing on what truly matters. Freedom from comparison is not passive, it is active. It requires making conscious choices about how you spend your time, energy, and attention. Every yes and no becomes meaningful. When you decide to dedicate your evening to reading a book, spending time with family, or learning a skill, you are choosing fulfillment over validation. When you decline an obligation motivated by external judgment, you reclaim your autonomy. A crucial mindset shift is valuing your unique journey. Life is not linear, and it is certainly not uniform. People progress at different speeds, face different challenges, and define success in their own ways. Embracing this variability allows you to honor your own path instead of envying another's. Every experience, even setbacks and delays, contributes to your story in a way that no one else can replicate. Practicing presence strengthens this freedom. By focusing on the current moment, you disengage from the endless comparisons that fuel dissatisfaction. Whether it's savoring a meal, listening to a friend, walking in nature, or reflecting quietly, being present allows you to experience life directly rather than through the distorted lens of social evaluation. Presence also deepens gratitude. as the mind notices what it would otherwise overlook when distracted by envy or longing. Another key element is resilience. Escaping comparison does not mean you will never feel envy or doubt. These emotions are human. The difference is how you respond. Each time you catch yourself comparing, reflect, reframe, and redirect your energy toward your own growth. Over time, this builds mental strength and emotional stability, allowing you to maintain focus on your values and priorities. Finally, helping others cultivates a perspective that naturally reduces comparison. Celebrating the successes of friends, colleagues, or peers does not diminish your own worth. Instead, it reinforces the understanding that life is abundant and diverse. Collaboration, encouragement, and generosity create a sense of connection that far outweighs the isolation that comparison fosters. Living freely beyond comparison is not a destination, it is a continuous practice. It requires constant awareness, reflection, and realignment, but the reward is profound: peace of mind, authentic satisfaction, and a life that is yours in every meaningful sense. You are no longer a spectator in someone else's story. You are the author of your own, and in that authorship lies the greatest freedom and happiness. When you finally step out of the comparison trap, the transformation is subtle at first, but profound over time. You notice it in the way you experience daily life. Tasks that once felt like obligations imposed by societal expectations now feel like choices aligned with your values. You begin to measure progress not by others' benchmarks, but by your own growth, and every small achievement becomes meaningful in a way it never was before. One of the most significant changes is emotional freedom. Envy, frustration, and self-doubt no longer dominate your mental landscape. Instead, you cultivate a sense of contentment and self-acceptance. You still notice the successes of others, but they no longer trigger judgment or inadequacy. Their accomplishments are simply indicators of what is possible, not evidence of your shortcomings. This freedom allows you to celebrate others without resentment and to pursue your own goals without guilt or pressure. Escaping comparison also strengthens decision-making. When your choices are guided by internal values rather than external approval, your life becomes coherent and purposeful. You say yes to opportunities that align with your goals and priorities, and you say no to distractions and obligations that do not. Each decision reinforces your autonomy and builds a life that reflects your unique vision. Relationships improve as well. When you stop measuring your worth against others, you stop measuring them against you. Friendships, partnerships, and collaborations become deeper and more authentic. You can genuinely support, encourage, and learn from others without feeling threatened or inferior. Comparison often isolates. Stepping away from it fosters connection and community. Perhaps the most lasting impact is a new perspective on success. You begin to understand that happiness and fulfillment are not found in accumulation, status, or recognition. They are found in alignment, aligning actions with values, time with priorities, and intentions with reality. Every day becomes an opportunity to live intentionally rather than reactively, to create meaning rather than chase illusions. Escaping the comparison trap does not mean you never feel envy or self-doubt again. It means you no longer let those emotions define you. You learn to redirect your focus to what you can control: your effort, your growth, your perspective. Life becomes less about chasing someone else's life and more about expanding your own. Discovering what makes it rich, meaningful, and authentically yours. In the end, leaving the comparison trap is not a strategy for winning or getting ahead. It is a philosophy for living fully. It is a choice to value your journey, honor your path, and cultivate joy independent of others. When you embrace this approach, life is no longer a contest. It becomes a canvas, a work of art painted with your own colors, shapes, and textures, and that is a masterpiece worth living.